This week in Jamaica Now. Probe. 3 senior staffers sent on leave as the police investigate an incident at the National Health Fund cold storage facility used to house vaccines. Maroons in mourning after a man was shot and killed and 5 others injured by a policeman. Ex-Colombian military officer charged by US in relation to assassination of former Haitian President Jovenel Moϊse. And
I know that I have tried.
Prime Minister gets emotional as he bemoans the country's crime monster. I'm Joven Johnson in This Week for Damien Mitchell, and this is Jamaica Now. 3 senior National Health Fund NHF personnel have been sent on leave as the police investigate a December 24 incident that affected more than 900,000 vaccine doses in a cold room at a warehouse. Acting chairman of the National Health Fund Board, Shane Dalling, confirmed that a wire attached to the affected cold room at the Kingston warehouse was cut. The incident has resulted in the suspension of the NHF's distribution of vaccines that were stored in the affected cold room.
Having received the management's response and collected all the statements from the persons who were responsible for responding to the temperature excursion, we found preliminary that a wire was cut for the cooling system, and the explanation given as to why the didn't respond in a timely manner was sufficient cause for concern to call in the police and to also request an independent assessment by a firm outside of the organization to protect the integrity of the process and the credibility of the NHF and the storage facility. We need to ensure that the report is clear and anyone who is culpable must be held accountable.
The cold room is now back in operation. Meanwhile, Mr. Dalling said Thursday the Pan American Health Organization PAHO has since given clearance for most of the inventory. However, he said the NHF is awaiting further word from PAHO on the efficacy of more than 30,000 doses of Sinopharm and over 360,000 AstraZeneca. Mr. Dalling said all of the vaccines are insured. And for the first time since September 2020, when the Ministry of Health and Wellness began reporting on daily COVID-19 cases, Jamaica has recorded more than 1,000 infections. On Thursday, there were 1,269 cases of the virus, with Kingston and St. Andrew accounting for 586 of the infections. The day before, the country recorded 1,128 infections. The country is experiencing a 4th wave of the virus. Already, the health sector is being hit, with the ministry reporting a rise in hospitalizations and staff being out due to infections. The body with oversight of the security forces, INDECOM, has launched a probe into the shooting of 6 persons, including 2 children, during an alleged confrontation with a policeman in Accompong, St. Elizabeth on Thursday. 1 man later succumbed to his injuries. Maroons had gathered in the community to celebrate 284 years of the signing of the peace treaty with the British. The event went ahead despite a warning from the police that the staging would breach COVID-19 rules.
There is no way the 6th of January can be cancelled. It will be a serious retaliated in a compound town with the chief and the old ancestors.
Meanwhile, a leaked cabinet document has said government ministries, departments and agencies have been urged not to engage with or fund secessionist Maroons who are asserting sovereignty from the Jamaican state. Though none of the island's 5 Maroon groups was named, the recommendation appeared to target the Chief Richard Curry-led Accompong village that claims authority over sections of the cockpit country, swathes of biodiverse lands in western and central Jamaica. The recommendation threatens funding such as sponsorship by the Tourism Enhancement Fund of the Accompong Maroon village in St. Elizabeth, and comes amid heated conflict fired by Curry's separatist rhetoric since his election in February 2021. The correspondence stated that there must be no acceptance of or acquiescence to any language or suggestion regarding sovereignty or indigenous rights, and no funds must be placed at the disposal of any person or entity claiming such. Ex-Colombian military officer Mario Antonio Palacios remains in U.S. federal custody after being charged by American law enforcement in relation to the assassination of former Haitian President Jovenel Moϊse. Mr. Palacios was en route to his homeland on Monday after being deported from Jamaica when he was intercepted by U.S. law enforcement personnel in Panama and transported to the state of Florida. The U.S. Department of Justice confirmed on Tuesday that the 43-year-old was charged with conspiracy to commit murder or kidnapping outside the U.S., a charge that is related to Mr. Moise's assassination. He is also facing a charge of providing material support resulting in death, knowing or intending that such material support would be used to prepare for or carry out the conspiracy to kill or kidnap. The charges are based on a criminal complaint filed in the Southern District of Florida. Mr. Palacios appeared at a federal court in Miami on Tuesday, but did not enter a plea. Hinting that Jamaica's ambitions of attaining developed country status was at risk because of epidemic levels of criminal violence, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said he will be commissioning an external review to determine the island's progress in achieving its Vision 2030 goals. The long-term strategic development plan covers the 21-year period 2009 to 2030 with an end goal of positioning Jamaica to become a developed country. Speaking at the National Day of Prayer church service in St. Catherine on Wednesday, Mr. Holness referenced Tuesday's murder of two brothers, 43-year-old Dervin Jones and 41-year-old Sheldon Jones in Westmoreland, and the killing of 10-year-old Jezariah Terrell in a home attack in central Kingston. The Prime Minister said he was haunted by the country's murder wave.
I know that I have tried. It's a minefield. Because every turn you make, there is someone who is trying to stop it. And I have to wonder, are they in support of the criminals in the country? The 10-year-old didn't have to die. We are there so you don't hear. We put it in Westmoreland, two brothers never had to die, man. We said we have to put in stronger measures for guns. And there are those people in Jamaica who turn them out on it.
The Prime Minister said the government is also increasing its capacity to have control of its territorial borders. The Minister of Finance on Wednesday contradicted a report from the Ministry of Education that surcharge action has been instituted against its Permanent Secretary Dinora Bernard and Acting PS Dr. Grace McLean. A surcharge is the recovery of an amount overpaid or payback of any loss suffered by the government for which a responsible public officer has been liable. The Auditor General, Pamela Monroe-Ellis, had recommended surcharge action against the two ministry officials because the Education Ministry could not account for $124 million spent with a rogue committee. On Wednesday, Education, Youth and Information Minister Favour Williams told a post-cabinet press briefing that the Finance Ministry had taken surcharge action against Mr. Bernard and Dr. McLean.
So, Mr. Campbell, you asked about the $124 million that was paid to JCTE, and I think the question was, has it been recovered? To say, well, the investigations are still ongoing. Investigations are being conducted by Financial Investigation Department, FID, and the MOCA. The investigations are continuing, so no, there has not been any recovery yet of that $124 million. With regards to your question about the surcharge, was there any surcharge action? Surcharge action was taken by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and letters would have been written to our Permanent Secretary Acting in that regard, and I know that she has taken the necessary steps to deliver the letters that would have come to her.
But hours later, the Finance Ministry said it had taken no action against the officials. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, tributes have been pouring in for prominent businessman and philanthropist James Moss Solomon, who passed away this week. We look back at his life.